Yes, guys, welcome to a brand new presentation. My name is Conan, and today we're going to be breaking down arguably one of the most difficult exercises, which is the stiff-legged deadlift. So right here, my client Diego, he actually submitted a check-in or a form video to me, and he basically said, "Hey Conan, how are you? I just feeling my lower back during this exercise rather than my hamstrings." And now this is a really common thing. Making sure that both your form, technique, and your mind-muscle connection are all there when doing this exercise is a pretty difficult task to kind of like do. But one thing I do want to remind you guys of is that when it comes to any exercise, especially the stiff-legged deadlift, is that simply the more of it you do, the better at it you get. So I want you guys to imagine playing your favorite sports. Like, how do you become a better soccer player? Do you shoot basketball hoops? Do you play golf? Do you play tennis? No, you play more soccer, right? And of course, there's like individual things that you could do. You could focus on passing, you could focus on shooting, you could focus on other things. But specifically, if you want to improve on anything, and this goes with anything in life, the more of it you do, the better you get, right? The more you practice, the better at it you'll get. And now in this video, I just want to give you guys a couple cues and also an example of what a proper video does look like. But before I do that, I do want to showcase this video really quickly here that Diego did send me. So I already looked at this, and honestly, as you guys can tell, this actually looks really, really good. Like, making sure his chest is up, which it is. When he descends downwards, he could probably slow down the eccentric portion of the exercise a bit more to like really milk out that stretch, as opposed to just like falling downwards towards the floor, right? He's keeping his back nice and flat as well, so he's not grunching over or houching over. Like, his back is nice and flat as well. He has a slight bend in his knees too. And so by looking at this from this angle, at least, this looks really good. And now one thing to keep in mind is that when it comes to like actually feeling the target muscle group, so actually like having that mind muscle connection, that is one of the things that you also will kind of start to develop over time. A lot of people have a hard time like feeling their back, and they're doing like any back exercise, whether it's a pull up, pull down, or row. And that's because a lot of people have a hard time kind of like engaging their back when they do the exercise. And also, typically speaking, is because like when you don't really have much muscle, it can be difficult to have like that mind-muscle connection, right? And so by simply going through the exercise, making sure your form is on point, your technique is on point, full range of motion, big stretch at the bottom, big squeeze at the top, and do that over time, not only will you start to develop that muscle by growing it larger, you also start to like really build that mind-muscle connection. So instead of like just going through the motions, you can actually feel your lats like fully being stretched at the bottom and then getting that big squeeze at the top as well, right? And so when it comes to specifically this stiff-legged deadlift, first of all, it's a fantastic exercise for targeting mainly your hamstrings, but also your glutes and your lower back as well. And now proper form is absolutely crucial to avoid any injury and also maximize the effectiveness of the exercise. So here's a step-by-step guide on how to fix that, along with some cues. So really quickly here's me doing the exercise under heavy load. This is 325. So just have a look at this, take it for what you will. But as I do the exercise, I just want to run you guys through it. So slight bend in my knees, obviously, as you guys can tell here. Back is nice and flat, and then also my chest is up. And on top of that, I was going to say something else. Slowing the weight down, right? Like, I'm not letting the weights drop, which is especially important on the stiff-legged deadlift. It's not like a regular deadlift where you just like let the weights drop as soon as you reach the top. Like, no, you like the going down parts, the eccentric phase is the most important part of not just like of any exercise, but especially for the hamstrings to really milk out that stretch at the bottom, right? So slight touch or slight pause at the bottom as well, big squeeze at the top. Like, by me simply looking at this exercise of me doing it, it's like I can feel my hamstrings right now. Like, it sounds kind of weird, but like I can feel the stretch, and you guys should as well, just by simply looking at it. But anyway, the way to set this up is you want to try or do this. So stand with your feet around shoulder width apart. So don't have like a super wide stance, not a super narrow one either. Just like nice, just shoulder width apart, regular stance. Toes pointing forward or slightly outward as well. That makes it a bit more comfortable, but definitely not inwards. So either neutral or slightly outwards. And then hold the barbell in front of your thighs with an overhand grip. Definitely you guys can notice that I'm wearing lifting straps here, because especially with 325, like on that, like because we really want to target our hamstrings and not our forearms, Oftentimes, this goes with any back exercise as well. What you'll notice is that your forearms tend to be the limiting factor, meaning that they'll tend to give or cave in before your actual target muscle groups do. And if you notice that that is the case for you, highly encourage you to invest in a pair of either lifting straps or what I use right now are actually Versa grips. So these are literally like glue. They just glue your hands towards the bar. I don't know what the technology is behind it, but it is amazing. It is phenomenal. So that is awesome, and that allows you to really just focus on your target muscle group, which in this case is the hamstrings, right? Do that. Keep your back straight, shoulders back, and chest upright, right? You don't want to like slouch forward with your back slouched like and your chest inwards, like nice and proud inwards, right? So that's the starting position. So basically, I guess I started the video here, but yeah, positioning. Keep your core tight at all times, obviously by drawing your navel toward your spine, right? And then slightly bend your knees. You don't want to have completely straight knees, but then also not super bent to turn it into a squat. Just a slight little bend and then maintain this position throughout the movement and avoid, like I mentioned, completely locking out your knees. Now, this is really important. You want to basically hinge at your hips. So begin the movement by pushing your hips back as if you're trying to touch the wall behind you with your butt cheeks, basically. And then maintain a slight arc in your lower back, like a lumbar spine, avoiding excess rounding or arching. Imagine keeping your spine neutral, right? So as we kind of start this exercise here, so pretty much right here, hinge at the hips, and then a slight arch or arc in the lower back. That is that. And then lower the weights by bending forward at the hips while keeping your back straight. Keep the barbell close to your body as you descend. So you don't want to have the barbell like super far ahead of you. Literally, you want to keep it as tight to your body like at all times, basically. So like you don't have to necessarily like have it scrape off like your knees and like your quads, but basically you do at the same time. So basically the closer the barbell is towards you, the less strain on your lower back, and the more you can and the better it will be just for your spine in general as well. And then you definitely also want to maintain a slight arch, and then also avoid excessive rounding or arching, which is pretty typical, especially towards the latter couple of reps. Like if you do this properly, towards the last couple of reps, like once you notice that your back is like rounding and like there's less kind of like stress on your hamstrings, your form is starting to break down, and then that will definitely stop the exercise because now you're no longer feeling it in your hamstrings and then pretty much just turning into like a lower back exercise, which is not ideally what you want, right? And then lower the weight until you feel a huge stretch in your hamstrings. Typically speaking, with a barbell exercise, that literally means going all the way downwards until it pretty much touches the bottom, like you guys saw in the video. It could depend based on your flexibility level, but that is a good kind of like thing to at least work up to, having the weights on the barbell touch the floor. And then again, don't go too low, but again, typically speaking, the weights on the barbell with the 45-pound plates is a good kind of place to stop at. This is so important, guys, is your positioning. So having an anterior tilted pelvis. What that means is that I've actually given you guys a visual graph here to kind of show you guys what it looks like. So here's the sway back, when you kind of like sway backwards. There's the thoracic kyphosis, so when you like kind of like hunched over. There's the forward head, where just like your head is just kind of forward. And then there's like good posture. And then for this one, we actually want an anterior tilted pelvis. So basically what that means is that you almost like want to stick your butt cheeks, like almost like push them backwards. Slight bend in the knees here, obviously as well. Stick your chest up and have like this huge kind of like arch in your spine, basically. What this allows you to do is actually pre-stretches your hamstrings before you even start the exercise, which you'll already engage your hamstrings, which is the position that you want to start at, basically. So this is basically what you kind of like want to be when you have the weights, like when you're holding the weight at the top, basically. And then from there, you kind of like descend downwards while maintaining this kind of positioning the entire time, basically, right? So slight arch in the back, chest up, slight bend in the knees, huge stretch in the hamstrings. Drive through your heels, maintain control, like don't put the weight up and down. And yeah, it's basically honestly a pretty in-depth breakdown on how to do the stiff-legged deadlift. This, yes, like I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, is a pretty advanced exercise. It's not like your regular deadlift where you just try to get the weight up and down. Like, no, like the main thing you want to focus on in this exercise is to hit your hamstrings properly. And you do this by literally following all the tips that I've given you. So remember that it's crucial to start with lighter weights. Like you definitely, whatever you're typically deadlifting, you probably cannot stiff leg a deadlift, right? So start off nice and easy, work your way up, gradually increase the load as you become more comfortable with the movements and as your strength also improves. Always prioritize your form and technique over the amount of weight you lift to prevent injury and to get the most out of the exercise. Hopefully that made sense. If you guys do have any questions for me, please let me know, and I'll see you all soon. Peace. Now, if you want to be around a community of like-minded people just like yourself who will educate you, motivate you, and inspire you to absolutely demolish your health and fitness goals, come join the Barbarian squad down below. I guarantee you, you will not regret it one single bit, and I'll see you inside.